I'm R.R. Moore, and welcome to Info Prime. Here I hope to provide you with information not normally available, or at least enhance your understanding on a wide variety of topics. This installment offers information on Welcome to the United States of America, The Real History, Episode 2. Did Abraham Lincoln and his Emancipation Proclamation really free the slaves? Well, of course that's true. That's what we learned in school, right? Well, let's just take a little closer look. President Abraham Lincoln is generally considered one of our greatest presidents. He is best known, as we learned in school, for preserving the Union and freeing the slaves. Preserving the Union while he was president was foremost in his mind at all times. But was freeing the slaves? Well, let's take a look. Here's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. "My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or to destroy slavery. And it is found in nearly all the published speeches of him who now addresses you. I do but quote from one of these speeches when I declare that I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists." He didn't believe he had a right to do that. Now, Abraham Lincoln, throughout his entire life, was an avid abolitionist. He hated slavery, wanted to see it disappear. But during this period, saving the Union was his prime focus. So what really was the Emancipation Proclamation, and what did it do? It may come as a surprise and even a shock to many, but the Emancipation Proclamation freed not one single slave, and, in fact, could not have done so. Let's take a look at a timeline of the era to explain. In 1854, the Republican Party was formed as an anti-slavery party. Other political parties at the time, including the Democratic Party, were all advocates of maintaining slavery. In March of 1861, Abe Lincoln became the first Republican president. A little over a month later, the Civil War broke out. We all learned that the Civil War was fought over slavery, but that wasn't exactly the case. The U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, even today, specifies a finite list of the powers allocated to the federal government. Anything not in that list was left to the states to figure out, or this was called states' rights. Prior to 1865, there was nothing in the Constitution prohibiting slavery. Therefore, states' rights, including the right to own slaves, was the real issue. Now, it should be made clear that slaves existed in both the North and the South, and there were many on both sides who felt slavery was wrong. For example, Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, hated slavery and owned no slaves. General Grant, the Union general, hated slavery as well, but both he and his family owned slaves. Slavery was a matter of economics. By and large, citizens of the U.S. at that time did not want to or wouldn't do the work on the farms at the pay offered. This is akin to today, where illegal immigrants are needed to do the work that Americans will not do at a pay rate below what Americans will accept. Now, let's take a look at the Emancipation Proclamation itself. Earlier, I mentioned that it did not and could not free the slaves. Here's why. The Emancipation Proclamation ordered that all slaves held in the states in rebellion be set free. As seen in gray on the map, those were the Confederate states, or the South. It said nothing about slaves that were held in the North. The Union states, as seen as blue on the map, remained with slaves. Therefore, the slaves held in the North would remain slaves, Emancipation Proclamation or not. There were several reasons why no slaves were set free. It was not enforceable in the states in rebellion. They had seceded from the Union. Lincoln had no authority over them at this point. Therefore, no slaves could be freed. Had a state rejoined the Union, none did of course, then it would no longer be in rebellion. Therefore, no slaves would be freed. As the Emancipation Proclamation was issued via an executive action under the War Powers Act, should the war have ended, which it eventually did, the executive action would become null and void. Therefore, no slaves would be freed. As in the second reason offered above, at war's end there were no states in rebellion. Therefore, the wording of the Emancipation Proclamation at that point would have been meaningless. Therefore, no slaves would be freed. Since the Emancipation Proclamation had no teeth, why did Lincoln go to the trouble of issuing it? Well, there were three basic reasons. People in the North were becoming tired of the war. The Emancipation Proclamation turned the reason for the war away from states' rights and maintaining the Union into a moral issue. Slavery was bad. A psychological shift was needed. Cotton was the main product of the South. It was much needed in Britain and the rest of Europe for that matter. The war, including the Union's blockade of southern ports, greatly curtailed shipments of cotton to Europe. This was causing financial trouble in Britain and across Europe. Britain was very close to supporting the South militarily at this point. Up until the Battle of Antietam, a short time before the Emancipation Proclamation was issued, the North had lost most of the battles. But the Battle of Antietam changed the course of the war. Lincoln could ill afford Britain to join forces with the South. It would have meant certain defeat. At the same time, Britain had moved against slavery, both politically and morally. The Emancipation Proclamation sent the same moral issue across the pond as it did here at home. The British people protested against supporting the South, cotton or no cotton. Britain elected not to support the South. And finally, it encouraged Negroes, the term used in those days, to fight for the Union. It gave them hope. The Civil War ended a mere 6 days before Lincoln was shot and killed. He never lived to see his lifelong dream of the abolishment of slavery come to pass. That would come some 8 months later with the ratification of the 13th Amendment to our Constitution, forever abolishing slavery. Until that happened, the slaves in the North remained slaves. Hi again. I hope this installment has been beneficial to you, and thanks for watching.